This is CES MMA.
Welcome back to Twin River Casino. New Blood presented by Jimmy Birchfield's Classic Entertainment and Sports, professional mixed martial arts at its finest. And we have moved up to the light heavyweight division. Right now you're taking a look at Williamsport, PA native Louis RUMSEY, 6'1", 206 1/2 pounds at yesterday's weigh-in. He comes into this fight at 8-8 with 4 knockouts. Now RUMSEY has become somewhat of a nomad in the training industry, traveling from state to state to learn from different fighters. He actually trained for a brief time out in New Mexico with Greg Jackson, who is one of the more highly regarded mixed martial arts trainers. And since 2010 has been traveling across the country, taking bits and pieces from different fighters, some UFC veterans, some not UFC veterans. But nonetheless, he says he feels like he's won 8 consecutive fights coming into this one just because of everything he has learned. And it does show in his record, despite the fact that he is 8-8, he has won 7 out of 10 overall since he began changing up his training regimen in 2010. So that is something to keep an eye on as he comes into this bout. And of course, his opponent about to make his way to the cage with the appropriate Rocky IV music. You always gotta love that. Greg "Ribs" REBELLO from Providence, Rhode Island. If you want to talk about a veteran in the light heavyweight division, REBELLO comes in at 15-4 with 8 knockouts, fighting out of Triforce MMA. He weighed in at 207 yesterday. REBELLO has gotten his career on track nicely, or gotten his career back on track, I should say. He really dominated between 2011 and late 2012, where he won 11 consecutive fights, and it appeared he was on the brink of something big. Lost to Dan Kramer at Bellator in 2011. That snapped his winning streak, and he hit a bit of a rough patch last year, losing 2 out of 3, including a tough loss here at Twin River against the dominant Mike Stewart, who is now one of the top-ranked, and I believe the #1 ranked light heavyweight in the Northeast. But he's gotten back on track. He's won his last 2 fights and 3 out of 4 overall. He traveled to Maine in February and took on the hometown favorite, Jesse Peterson. That's why this Rocky IV music is so appropriate. He was like the Rocky.
I'm surprised you're not dancing right now. This is right up your alley.
It definitely is, and I was mentioning how, much like Rocky going to Russia to fight Ivan Drago, Greg REBELLO went to Maine to fight Jesse Peterson, who was the hometown favorite in February.
Yep.
And he pulled a Rocky. He knocked out Peterson, got the stoppage, and it's really gotten REBELLO back on track, Scott. As we discussed, he had that 11-fight win streak, but didn't finish a lot of those fights. And he says that's one of the things that may have held him back. Now he's starting to finish fights, and he said, listen, this is my last run at it.
Yeah.
He turns 31 next week. This is it for him. If he's going to make it, he's going to make it real soon, and he needs to not only win fights, but to finish them as well.
That is the biggest thing. If you want to go to the next level, you have to finish fights. Have to do it. Nothing else matters.
Well, here we go. Tail of the tape. Louis RUMSEY coming in at 8-8, 4 knockouts from Williamsport, PA. Greg REBELLO, Ribs, 15-4 with 8 knockouts out of Triforce MMA in Pawtucket. Let's send it down to Bill Carpenter for the official introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Gammons Prudential Realty and Shamrock Mortgage bout. 3 5-minute rounds of mixed martial arts cage fighting in the light heavyweight division. Your referee is Keith Peterson. Introducing the red corner first. He's wearing the black and red trunks. This fighter weighed in at 206 1/2 pounds. His professional record stands at 8 wins with 8 losses. Representing Team Vicious, he comes to us tonight from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Louis the Beast RUMSEY. Across the cage to my left, fighting out of the blue corner, he's wearing the black trunks with blue, red, and yellow. He tipped the scales at 207 pounds. He steps up into the cage tonight with 15 professional wins, just 4 losses. Among those 15 wins, 8 knockout victories. Representing Triforce MMA, he fights out of Providence, Rhode Island. Introducing Greg "Ribs" REBELLO. 3 5-minute rounds.
All right, here we go. Greg REBELLO in the black and red trunks. Rumsey in the black and red. REBELLO in the black trunks with the blue and gold trim. Round number 1 here in the light heavyweight division. Let's see if REBELLO can continue the winning ways.
I'd like to see what Greg does with his hands in this fight. It looks like he's playing a little Thai style right now, but I know he's been doing a lot of boxing.
Working with Dave Keefe, who's worked with so many fighters in this region.
That's 401 boxing, if I'm correct.
Used to work with Demetrius Andre, the Olympian,
right,
who will be fighting for a world title soon.
Ooh, Greg kind of ate a little bit of a kick on the way in.
Trying to shoot for that takedown early.
Greg's doing a decent job of keeping him pinned to the cage, but I got to tell you, Lewis is doing a really good job of pulling his head up there and keeping his jaw up. Greg's still putting a lot of pressure on Lewis, keeping him against the cage, looking for that takedown.
There's been so much talk, Scott, of this UFC show coming to Boston in August. You may feel like everybody's trying to put their best foot forward, all these fighters who are on the cusp.
You know, it's a long shot, let's be honest, okay?
Exactly.
The UFC's cutting guys right now, but when you're a good, solid regional fighter, Greg tried for a takedown there and wound up on the bottom. When you're a good, solid regional fighter, and maybe there's a last minute, cancellation, someone gets hurt or something, they're looking to replace somebody, yeah, the UFC looks in the region. And if you're doing pretty well, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
That's why the pressure's on fighters like Chuck O'Neal, Greg REBELLO, and even Doomsday Howard in tonight's main event.
Absolutely.
Put your best foot forward. Right now, REBELLO trying to fight back here.
Lewis is doing a good job in half guard. It looks like he might have ballooned up a little bit bigger than Greg. There's a big man in there after weighing in 205.
I mentioned how Rumsey's been training across the globe, Scott, including at Greg Jackson's gym in New Mexico.
Well,
that's a great place to go.
Much better than Mr. Jackson's.
He's actually turned his career around since he stopped training in just one place. He's won 7 out of 10 overall. Even though it doesn't show in the record at 8-8, he's actually been on somewhat of a hot streak, so to speak.
Greg did a nice job of getting up, but he's got to worry about this scanning guillotine right here. There's an arm-in guillotine. It would behoove Greg to try to go either high crotch or try to slip through the back door. He can get out of that. Greg's head's free. Nice takedown by Greg.
Yep, pulled that head out, got the takedown. Nice transition for Greg REBELLO. 2.5 to go in round number 1. Rumsey REBELLO in the light heavyweight division. This is tonight's co-feature, Scott. We're just moments away from the big main event, Doomsday Howard and Chris Cappy Whittle. But first, the big boys at 205.
Yes, they are. No heavyweights on the card tonight. We'll have to settle for light heavyweights. Greg doing a nice job stepping over, working an arm triangle to step over to mount. Very well executed. He also has one hook in, as you can see. It's a bit of a grapevine. It really holds position well, and Lewis recognized it, did the best he could to get out. You can see Greg replace it on the other side. Looks like Greg's trying to work an arm lock or a key lock here. Kind of tough to do from the mount, but it might be something Greg would transition to the side control if he feels he has it. Again, Greg trying to do a good job here of trying to grapevine Lewis. Lewis did a great job of using the cage, burst over, gave up his back momentarily, and then went out the back door. Now he's got Greg in a tough position against the cage. Greg working really strong to get on the inside.
That's a nice transition for Rumsey. The one thing about REBELLO, he's got strong legs. He can push himself back up if need be.
Yeah, Greg was, he's a hockey player as a kid growing up, and I don't know what it is. There must be something in the DNA when you're playing hockey at a young age, but your legs definitely get strong and get big quick. A lot of people don't realize it, but Greg was a really big kid growing up, too. Lewis looking to try to squirm out of this. Greg has a standing guillotine, but he's a little too high on it. He needs to drop down a little more. But at least at the moment, he's controlling him. You can see Greg up on the tip of his toes here with the height differential. Trying to work to whizzer him down. Short right hand by Lewis, connected.
Final 30 seconds of round number 1 between Greg REBELLO and Louis Rumsey. It's been a little back and forth in this open round, Scott.
Yeah, really tough one to call. No one's really made a huge statement, but both fighters have had to fend off the other, so a pretty even round.
that'll do it for round one. One thing you might say is REBELLO finished a little bit stronger in the second half of that round. Sometimes the judges remember what they see right at the beginning and right at the end.
I will not, for the life of me, try to figure out how a judge scores a fight. I have my judge's license, and I'll judge some fights, and, you know, I'm quite sure people say the same thing about me when I'm judging, but I prefer not to have their job. I think I would rather fight than be a judge, and I would rather shovel shit against the tide than be a referee.
Let's listen into REBELLO's corner with Dave Keefe and Sit Your Tongue's John Johnson.
The biggest problem when he starts throwing those kicks and going inside is that knee's going to come up. Get those hands high, okay? When you're going on the inside, keep them high just until that last second, right? Somebody's got kicks and shit ain't nothing.
You hear Mike Gresh in the background just yell, "Stay active."
Yeah.
And we'll see. Not much activity in that round, but it was a grind for both fighters trying to establish position. May not show in terms of action-packed kicks and jabs like we've seen in other fights.
That was a nice feint of a switch kick there, looking for a reaction. And you can see that was Lewis that did it. Rear leg, just a high, it was a slip.
Yeah, RUMSEY tried to go upstairs and lost his balance.
You see RUMSEY smiling, he's been here before, he's real relaxed.
He's trained with some of the best. He's won some big fights recently. And you can say the same for REBELLO. Both fighters in a similar spot here.
Nice short knees by Lewis. Greg's still working that takedown. There's really not a whole lot going on. Greg's still trying to work that takedown. Lewis doing the best he can to defend it. Some short knees. Greg's trying to step around for a sweep here, and Lewis identifies it and shakes it off. Again, looking for that takedown and wound up on the bottom.
I'll see if RUMSEY can do something in this spot. 3.5 to go in round number 2.
Now would be the round to do it. This is a real pivotal round, not just because it's the middle round in a 3-round fight, but this is where you're really going to either carry some momentum into the third if it goes that far, or find a little bit of an uphill battle. Like earlier in our Tugman fight, he didn't have enough to climb the hill he had made for himself.
That's right. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you need to finish in that third round. And it's so hard to tell where or which direction the judges went in round number 1. It's almost impossible to say until if we hear the final cards at the end. If it gets that far, we may never know. Again, just a lot of posturing, Scott, in the second round. Somebody trying to gain the upper hand.
It's a real grappling match going on right now. Everybody's looking for just a little bit. There's some short elbows happening now by Lewis RUMSEY.
RUMSEY, by simply staying active, Scott, could steal some points here.
Top position and active, you're basically winning the round. It might not be exciting, it actually isn't overly exciting, but top position, maintaining that position or improving it, and throwing some strikes down wins you the round. That's the game, that's the fight game.
That's exactly how it is, and REBELLO has to do something to stem the tide here. Just under 2 minutes to go.
Got a standing guillotine Lewis is trying to apply, except Greg's head's in a good position. Lewis really doesn't have it.
Heads up.
Yeah, and Lewis isn't even using 2 hands. He's more or less controlling the head from that position. Greg really tried to muscle that one. That took quite a bit of effort, and Lewis did a nice job. That's where the height disadvantage comes in.
1 minute to go in the second round.
Greg probably got him 3 inches up in the air, but because he's so tall, you needed 4.5 to make him hit the ground.
Once again, another tough round to score, Scott. Though there's plenty of time for somebody to do something to distance themselves from their opponent. That's always an emphasis in boxing and even more so in MMA at times, to steal those rounds in the end if they're close.
Well, you notice in boxing a lot of the times you hear the 20-second bell, 30 seconds, guys will start just ripping.
Just let their hands go.
Even that 10-second chop, you hear the 10-second chop, they want to finish strong and kind of let the judges know, I have gas, I'm here, I was just kind of waiting my turn.
Neither fighter may have a chance here in the final 25 seconds of this round if it stays this way.
If these guys were doing more of a kickboxing, Muay Thai, or a stand-up fight, this has been, again, a Greco-Roman grind, a ground and pound, a little lay and pray by both fighters. So it's really no one being distinctive at the moment. It looks almost like a stalemate.
Just trying to wear each other down. We'll see who has
He's
enough
trying
left.
to put that...
Yeah, briefly, but it does not work out.
He didn't have it deep enough.
So we go to the third round. Let's listen in again at Greg Rebello's corner. Scott, you get the sense as we head into this third and final round that if this does go the distance, somebody is going to be even more disappointed than normal with the decision.
I don't think it's going to be disappointed. I think it's going to be pissed off. And you can actually see Lewis right now bouncing on his toes. In his corner, Lewis's corner was more or less, what are you going to do? And Lewis said, he's gassed, I'm coming. I'd really like to say, Greg, keep moving. He's standing still right now. I'd like to see him keep moving and pumping that jab. He's got great hands and footwork when he uses it. Overhand left by Craig, just a little short.
Rebello's Muay Thai game, very underrated. We saw it against
Cody Lightfoot.
Cody Lightfoot. Yeah. I lost my train of thought for a second. We saw that kick.
Same train.
Thankfully, you saved me on that one. 30 seconds into round 3. We'll see if someone lets their hands go here.
You just saw that right there. Lewis just did a touching over the top like karate kind of tap dance. And he's playing. He's straight left hand by Greg.
I think Rebello got a kick out of it for sure.
Yeah.
Good sense of humor.
You got to kind of get nasty now. Greg really needs to get off the cage because he's going to get pressed up against it. Greg was aiming for the head. I'd be looking for body shots right now. Maybe a rear leg to the liver. That's where a lefty's rear leg can. Nice straight double left hand by Rebello. He's calling him out. He wants it. He's like, let's go.
2 nice lefts in this round for Rebello. It's the most action we've seen in quite some time from either side. That can always sway the judges, Scott.
See, Lewis is moving right into Greg's straight left hand. I'm surprised Greg is. I don't understand unless Greg saw something I didn't. I thought Greg was doing pretty well. He was landing good strikes standing up, and now he presses him right into the cage. Now there's the takedown. Greg saw something I didn't.
It's one of the more emphatic moves of this fight.
You can see Greg's right hand is trying to pick that rear ankle to keep Lewis on the ground and step over. See, that's the difference about being in there active and sitting where we are. I thought Greg was doing great standing up. He saw something and shot right in, did a great job on the takedown.
He went for it and he got it.
And that's the cleanest takedown of the night so far.
And it could be a big momentum boost for Rebello.
Yeah, Lewis makes his way back up right now.
Two and a half to go in the third and final round. In this light heavyweight co-feature, Greg Rebello in the black, red and gold trunks, Lewis RUMSEY in the red and black. or more appropriately with the mohawk. That'd be a better way of distinguishing the two.
I think, the aqua blue mohawk might be a better way.
We always go with trunk colors. We never go with hairstyles or hair colors. It's time to reverse that trend.
I think it's a good idea. The gentleman with a receding hairline.
At a certain point, Scott, with this stalemate, you see the referee, and there he is, breaking it
Nice
up.
call. You were right on it, Mikey. There's a cut. What are we looking at? We got a
Although we
cut.
have the time, Rebello's actually cut.
Something I didn't see.
Interesting. Not sure where it came from. Rumsey really hasn't landed any strikes. Rebello
It looks
says
like
he's
it's
fine.
under the eye.
Looks pretty rough, but with 2.5 to go, probably not something that would cause any stoppage.
It looks like it's under the eye, but it looks like there might be one over Greg's right eye as well.
I think you're right. There's two.
He's looking at that second one. The doctor's looking at it, but it looks good.
Fight doctor checking it out. Should be okay.
He's calling it good.
You wonder if it's from an inadvertent strike of some sort.
Whether it's inadvertent or not, those are the little tiny,
Yeah.
when you're grinding and it's a lay-in prey, it's these little tiny ones that make it happen. We should add a little urgency to Rebello, knowing that there's a cut there that can be
Sure.
open.
And the time on the clock would also be the urgency. 1.5 to go. Big left from Rebello.
He shot right in for the takedown. He used his hands to work the takedown. Lewis is just a really big guy.
Yeah, he's a strong guy. It's tough to take him down. Rebello's only really had one big scoop and slam, so to speak.
Right.
And that was earlier in this round. Otherwise, Rumsey has held his ground nicely. We're about to reach the 1 minute mark. Rather, 1 minute to go in this fight. And again, you're right, a real
That
Greco-Roman
was a
style
tight
match.
knee. Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's a Randy Couture fight. $50. I would not want to be scoring this fight. A split decision is the way
Yeah,
it
this
looks
is
like.
incredibly tough. I really couldn't tell you which
That's
direction.
the third time Greg's tried for a takedown and wound up on the bottom. Depends on how a judge scores that. It's not a takedown for Greg because he wound up on the bottom. When in actuality, Greg initiated the takedown. Lewis is doing a good job with the short punches to the body. Greg still has a knee down, so now he's up. Lewis looks for the trip, and it's not there.
I think our original assessment might ring true. Someone's going to walk away disappointed with the decision here. You get the sense that both sides feel they've controlled the fight, even though it's been close. Final 10 seconds, Rumsey trying to work the body. Some last-ditch left hands. Not quite enough for a guillotine for Rebello, and that's
That'll
how the
do
fight
it.
ends. Very, very tough. One of the tougher fights we've had to sit and watch and analyze
Without a doubt.
in quite some time, and I really have no clear direction of which way they're going to go. And that's
Rebello
why it's
heads,
not our jobs.
Lewis, that's a tough one.
And again, it really was a wrestling-style match, as Scott pointed out. Both fighters trying to assert their will and just assert their power. You have two big 205-pounders, thick legs, built lower to the ground. And at times when Greg Rebello shot in for those takedowns, he, like Scott pointed out, wound up on the bottom. So it'll be interesting to see how the scoring goes. If the officials, or the judges rather, score it in favor of Rebello despite the fact that he didn't get the takedown, maybe he gets the points for initiating the takedown. It'll be interesting to see how they go. There's real no clear-cut definition on that, and it really depends on the judge's style and preference. And we're going to find out very soon which way they lean in this one. But a very close fight here between Louis Rumsey and Greg Rebello. We're going to send it down to Bill Carpenter, who has our official decision here in this light heavyweight co-feature.
Hockey game, the Bruins still lead Pittsburgh 1-0. 5 minutes remaining. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 hard-fought rounds in the cage, let's go to the judges' scorecards for your decision. And we have a split decision. Judge Minor scores the bout 30-27, RUMSEY. Judge Flanagan has the contest 29-28, REBELLO. And Judge Wayne Lima scores the bout 29-28 for your winner by split decision, Louis the Beast RUMSEY.
Louis, if I could speak to you for a second, congratulations on a hard-fought win. This fight looked like it was a grind back and forth. Was this what you expected when you came up?
Oh yeah, I mean, Greg's a tough dude. I knew he had good stand-up, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, so I had to be prepared wherever the fight was going.
Now, when you found yourself against the cage, it looked like a stalemate a couple times. It looks like you tried to move an inch and couldn't get it. He couldn't move an inch and couldn't get it. Did you get frustrated or did you just try to ride it out?
No, I didn't really get frustrated. I was trying for a guillotine, my arms got tired, and then I was just defending the shot out from there now, so.
Well, congratulations on a great fight. We hope to have you back. Louis RUMSEY, ladies and gentlemen. I'm with Greg REBELLO. Greg, tough fight. What a grind. That was an up and down grind. What did you see? Did you see this happen in a grinding fight?
Well, you know, I wanted to stay to train, man. I hit a wall, man. I never stopped training. I felt a little overtrained. You know, he didn't have any power to hurt me. I knew he couldn't hurt me, but, you know, I kept pushing him against the fence. You know, like I said, sometimes, you can't win them all, man. I've been in this sport a long time, and it's all about putting in that training, and if you can show up with these 15 minutes, and tonight, I hit a wall. I wasn't hurt. I was fine.
Well, it looked to me like I said to Louis, it was a game of inches. You'd move 2 inches one way and he could hold on, or he tried to move you or vice versa. It looked to me like it was a grinding fight, and it was a split decision. There's not much else. If you say you hit a wall, at what point did you hit it?
Well, you know, I felt that in the first round, man. I felt like that quick adrenaline dump right off the bat. And, you know, I had him mounted, and I couldn't finish him. I think he won the second round. I kind of kept going on my back because I felt like I had no explosion in there. You know, in the third round, I tried to get him down. You know, it was pretty close. I think couldn't win either way, but, you know, I give him all the credit in the world. I've been in this sport a long time, man. I love it. But, you know, I got a baby girl at home. I got a family, and this is my last fight tonight. I kind of decided this for a while, but, you know, I got other things to do. This is a young man's sport. There's so many young kids in my gym, man, and I love them.
You hear this? Everybody here knows the time and effort you put in, the years you put in. We've trained together, pal. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't be prouder of you.
Man, you know, I have no regrets. I made it to the top. I fought in the UFC on the TV show. I fought in Bellator a couple of times. Those are the 2 biggest shows in the world, man. I have no regrets. Walking away from the sport, you know, I feel that everybody's gonna remember me. I get a lot of young kids that I train and teach. And for me, you know, I got a baby girl at home, man, and I'd rather, you know, spend the time helping out those kids and being with my daughter every day. And
well, I'm very glad to not only have trained with you, watched you fight, call your fights, but I know I'm even prouder to call you dad. And I know that's what you want to do. A lot of kids that are going to be training with you are the better for it. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg REBELLO. How about a big hand, a big thank you for all the years he's put in. Some great, great fights.